I started to understand the power of connection a long time ago and know that it's more than just someone being your colleague. It's really understanding somebody, moving the titles out of the way and say, hey, I just want to get to know you.
Right.
I just want to know your journey, your story, and just build some true relationships.
Thank you, everybody, for joining us for another episode of Navigating Technology with Zeal. Every episode, we endeavor to bring a tech leader, a business leader to the forefront here, so we as a community can collectively learn and grow from their experiences, their challenges, their growth process, get some advice for the up-and-coming generation in the field of technology. So here we are today with another leader. I know I say this every single time because I always am so honored for the guests that make the time for our episodes. And also, I'm always amazed that they find the time for us. So another such personality here today, we have an enterprise IT technology leader, Renard Henry, in our studios this morning. And Renard is a co-founder of the Leadership Lounge. He is the host of Black Belts and Boardrooms podcast. He is a council member for Make-A-Wish Foundation. Black Leaders Worldwide has him pegged as 2025 and 2026 leaders to watch. So you can imagine our incredible good luck to have Renard in our offices today. Thank you so much for being here. We are so fortunate to have you.
No, thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
Absolutely. So Renard, I want to start with today. Where you're at today, what you work with, what does your day-to-day look like in the life of an amazing tech leader like yourself?
Yeah, no, that's a great question. For me, it's innovation, is technology, is AI, automation are the main key things for me on a day-to-day basis. But outside of just that technology, I always tell people it's creating other leaders. That is my main scope that I want to leave a legacy in, is creating other leaders. So on a day-to-day, yes, it's technology, it's pushing innovation, it's seeing people smile when great things are going on, but it's also creating other leaders within my department or within other teams as well. I just want to leave a long list of other leaders to go out and just do the great work in tech or any other business.
So it seems like you're a leader that's holding the door open.
Yes.
And paving the path for other leaders to follow through and follow in your footsteps and pave the way. That's incredible. Where did this journey start? I want to go back to how you chose tech or tech chose you. Where did it all start for you?
I will say tech was probably not my first thought when I went into college. I wanted to do physical therapy. I wanted to do sports medicine. I wanted to work for a football team, basketball team, etc. I took my first class and was medical terminology. I wasn't doing well in that class. It took me so much just to get a C. My professor comes over and he says, "And I'm so happy you got a C, but you're going to fail this class."
Oh,
he
no.
said, "Why don't you go drop this class and come back next year?" So I listened to him, but I went into something that I knew, which was tech. So I always tell people sometimes failure puts you on your right path.
Right track.
For me, that's what it was. It was my right track. I already worked on computers beforehand, even before I went to college. If I date myself, my first computers was Windows ME, one of the worst OSs that came out. So that's dating myself. But I've always been into computers. Growing up, technology was really starting to move when I was young, going into high school, going to college. So technology became my passion. So I wind up moving here after Hurricane Katrina. So since I'm originally from New Orleans, I moved here and I knew this was the place where this was a business city and where I could grow and expand my knowledge as far as tech is concerned. So like some people, I started on the service desk and wound up working my way up over time. So I've gotten to work in networking, infrastructure, cybersecurity at one point. The list goes on of industries I've gotten to work in, worked in several different industries throughout my career. So I've really gotten to see how tech works in multiple industries, which has really made me adaptable to any industry that I go in.
Wonderful. So once you committed to technology in college officially, you kind of stayed true to that track.
Yes.
I think we have more in common than I realized because I also predate to the Windows ME days. And when I say I started as a Foxpro developer, a lot of the young people now look at me like, what's that? And nobody's heard of Informix databases. But yeah, here we are, right? Now, your description of working through various different industries brings me to maybe a question I may have had later in the podcast, but I'll cover it now. Do you feel where technology is today and the way the landscape is shifting, that the requirement to have, 5 years, 15 years, 20 years of experience in, let's say, finance or healthcare is still a good requirement to have of up and coming leaders? Or do you think the barrier to enter a new industry has sort of gone down? And what challenges did you face when you traversed the different industries?
So you bring up a great point, especially talking about when I started. When I was growing up, it's either you went to the military or you went to college. You had to go to college in order to get the great job, etc. Now we're on a point where that is not the case. You can learn a lot of these skills before you can get into internships, etc. So I think that those years of 15, 20 years experience is actually going down, especially with the influx of AI and how easily accessible knowledge is these days. If
Right.
you think about it, when I went to college, internet was around, but it wasn't something. It was something you went to.
Went to.
It's not something you carried with you. You had at all times. So
Right.
it was different. You had to look into books. You had to read those books. And now knowledge is just so easily accessible these days. You think about it. If you're working on a car, you can easily go on YouTube and see if you can actually do that yourself, or do you really need to bring that to a mechanic? So same thing when it comes to technology. It's just easy accessible. I see kids, young kids now already doing programming at such a young age. Some schools even bring that in to them at a young age to learn how to start working on technology ahead of time. So that gap is slowly closing year over year. And now, like we talked about again, the age of AI and where we are, it's even getting even closer. So I think it's people are adapting. The years of experiences now is going to get a little bit smaller, but I think experience does, you still need that. You still need that professional experience, understanding the lay of the land, understanding how to work in those environments, not just sitting in front of a computer at home. I think that experience is very valuable.
So, what I'm hearing you say is that the barrier to entry and move between industries is going down, but it does not negate the fact of the relevance and the weightage that's put in your overall professional experience, right? If you're fresh out of college and you've only coded sitting at your desk at home, versus if you've managed teams, irrespective of what industry it may have been, I think that carries weight.
Sure.
So that brings me to my other question. So lately, because we interview so many prominent guests on our show, we've had CTOs on here, we've had core technologists, CIOs. And when I was growing up and when I mentor young people, I always say, at some point in your career, you're going to approach a crossroad. Am I going to be a core technologist, engineer, live and breathe systems? Or do I like working with people more, but I have enough technical expertise? So I like technology, but my core strength is people management, stakeholder management, business expectation management. That's your track between CTO and CIO. And no right or wrong way. It really was a personal preference on what drove you personally. But now, when I look at the industry, I feel like those two roles are collapsing into each other. You're out there talking to a lot of people yourself, and then you are traversing different industries. What are you seeing out there from that standpoint?
Yeah, I think the CIO, CTO, like we talked about outside of here, I think you're going to see more CDO going forward. But I think you have to be able to understand both sides, the technical and that business acumen or executive presence as well is one of the strong suits that you don't see a lot of tech people have.
Right.
So it's something I think needs to learn. You see great people who are great at technology, but far as being in a room with other executives, et cetera, is not their strong suit.
Right.
So I think that executive presence and that business acumen where it comes in. So I think you don't have to be the most technical person, but you have to understand technology. But you don't have to be the most senior executive, but you have to understand that room as well in order to have those conversations
Right.
of why your project matters, why your initiatives matter as well. So I think you have to be able to traverse both of them. So that CIO, CTO, knowing where we're going again when we talk about AI and everything else, CDO is probably going to be that new title
The
going
new
forward.
title. and it's going to be a merged role, so to speak. So we'll talk about both those roles at a little more in depth. So let's look at the CIO role, right? How much technology do I just need to know strategy wise? Am I going to be just like I used to be able to say, oh, are we going to be, Azure Cloud or AWS, right? You need to know the distinctions, differences, your internal environments enough to make a decision and help your teams make decisions. Or do I need to be able to build agents myself, or do I just need to know, I could use Gemini, Vertex, or I could use Copilot and do certain things. I could use Claude, I could use ChatGPT. Where is that line on how much upskilling and technical upskilling do you think CIOs have in front of them to do to be able to actually, for AI, let me rephrase the question, for AI, do you need to be hands-on to understand it well enough?
I think you should. I think you should. It's something you need to be immersed into.
Right.
If it's not at work, you need to be using it in your personal life. You need to grab a hold of AI and learn everything possible and grow with AI. I think that has to be the navigation and the journey now for any executive. It doesn't matter if you're CIO, CTO, you can be the CFO. How can these tools help and speed us up?
Right.
CEO as well. I think you have to grab a hold of that knowledge and that technology and be immersed into it. Use it on a regular basis. If some new technology around AI coming in your business, how can I start using this and how can I understand it in order to make not just my department better, but the business better as well? So I think it really takes that, hey, I'm going to be a little technical. I'm going to learn this. I'm going to immerse myself in it. That way, when we have these conversations, I understand what's going on and how this can actually increase our productivity, mitigate the risk of the business, but also just enable the growth of the business as well.
Right. Well said. Now looking at the CTO role, from a people management perspective, how do you see that changing with AI projects at play?
I think people are always going to be a solid main point to everything. The human in the loop still has to be around. It has to be. No
Right.
matter how much technology we have, I think that human aspect is always going to be around. So even from a CTO perspective, I think that person still has to be a great leader, not just technically, but be a leader to those other group of leaders you're trying to create as well. So create those leaders inside that team, inside that department, inside the business,
Right.
and enable them in order to continue making, what I always say, do the great work.
Do the great work.
Continue to do the great work. So I think it has to be both. The human in the loop, no matter how much technology we have, is still going to be so important, no matter what new tool comes out, AI, etc., what comes after that. The human in the loop has to be part of that. So as a CTO, you need to say, hey, my other main focus is going to be creating these great leaders within the team so we can continue to grow as a business.
What are some things that you do actively on a daily basis, hands-on in your role to create those new leaders?
For me, big on understanding AI, big on automation as well. What's coming next? I always say you don't just prepare for today, you prepare for tomorrow.
Right.
So what's next? What are the new tools coming out? How can we start having those conversations now and bring the department and bring those groups in to say, hey, let's have a conversation and see what the business is going to look like for the next 5 years. Let's start talking about it now, not just wait until year 2, year 3. So that's one of my main things, but it's also empowering the team as well.
Right.
How can I get you out of your comfort zone? How can I push you past those limits you thought you had as well?
Right.
I've had people on my team that didn't code at all, and they were nervous about it. And gave them a little push, that you need to, and
Yeah.
all of a sudden one of them is just a master coder.
Oh, wow.
Loves it, enjoys it, wants to do more of it, wants to see how he can impact other
Right.
teams and other departments. So I think that's some of the key things you look at as, hey, I need to believe in you more than you believe in yourself.
Right.
Someone took the chance on me and did the same thing throughout my career
Right.
and gave me a chance to grow and empower me. So for me, it's giving back and doing the same thing.
That's a sign of a true leader. You see in others what they don't see in themselves and instill that confidence. So switching from people back to technology and talking about AI, such a high percentage of failure of AI projects that our colleagues are trying to launch. Do you see that scene shifting? Do you see greater understanding? Do you see POCs being done differently or AI being approached differently? And what are your recommendations and advice for a successful AI project implementation based on your experience?
For me, I go to an aspect of I call AI for good, and that's really around cybersecurity, your infosec team, etc. Everybody wants to bring in AI.
Right.
As soon as you see it, and I gotta let's see. But I think what it comes around is that security piece that's gonna really make a difference of a POC. And every business is different, depends where that solution is coming from, etc. But I think really cybersecurity, your infosec team, your CISO is gonna make the impact to make sure that's gonna be successful on the back end.
Yeah.
But you also, I think the main question I always ask is what problem are we trying to solve?
Amen.
That's my very first
Yes.
question. Not just let's bring everything. First question, what problem are we going to solve? Let's answer that question first and then decide which tool is going to mean the best for the business. So
Right.
for me, at all aspects, no matter what it is, if you take AI out of it, you bring it in, what problem are we trying to solve for the business? Is this going to make sense or do we need to look at a tool? But I also, one of the main things I do, I look at our tool set every single year. Does the tools that we have still make sense for the business? Is this something that's going to last a year or is it going to last 5 to 10 years for us? Or are we going to have to switch out? So I think as a leader in general, that's some of the main things that you need to look at. But that main question that we go back to is what problem are we trying to solve?
Absolutely. Any successful AI implementation that you have done that you'd like to share with our audience today?
I'm lucky enough. I've gotten to work in AI as soon as it came around. Automation as well. It's been very impactful to the businesses that I've worked with and even current right now. So definitely happy about that. I decided to immerse myself into
Right.
AI as well and use it on a regular basis and how it can impact me, even with my podcast. How can it impact us? How can it speed along things a lot faster? So I think going back to it, I asked the same question. What
Right.
problem are we trying to solve first and how we can implement it? But now it's time to see how impactful those projects and initiatives are.
All right.
It's time to look at that on the back end. Is this still working, or are people engaged with these automations or these AI tools that we're bringing in, or is it we brought it in and no one's really using it? Or is it really processing is that production getting faster? So I think that's your next step after bringing it in. That's the things that I look at on a regular basis. We did a great job on a project. We brought the tools in. What's going to happen in the next 6 months, another year? How can we show the business that, hey, the things that we brought in are really pushing the business forward? Or is it something we're going to have to take out later on?
Right. That makes perfect sense. For young people starting out in their careers, I'm actually envious of people that are using AI as a tool versus some people that are further along in their career that we were like, okay, is this a buzzword? Is it here to stay? And now it's just a part of life. And one of the most disruptive technologies that have come our way in a long time. What is your advice for young people looking at careers in technology as they move forward?
AI is here to stay, like you said. So it's grab a hold of it as much as possible.
Right.
But, make a decision what type of person you want to be in tech. Are you a person who's going to want to focus on AI? Do you want to focus on networking, etc. if you're just starting off?
Right.
But then eventually that changes throughout your career.
Right.
I didn't know I wanted to be a leader at first. I tell anybody I just needed a job when I came out of college. Let me get that first and then figure everything else
Right.
out. So I think it's getting immersed in that, whatever career that is, as far as tech is concerned, and then start navigating and trying to decide what do I want to do next. If your first initial part is, hey, I got on the help desk, is that first? What's next after that?
Right.
Take the time, learn it, and move forward, because that's what I did in my career. I started, and then I started to see great leaders along the way, and that's what made me want to go into leadership.
Okay.
So I said, man, I want to do what he does. Or I want to do what she does. I see how impactful that is. So it navigated me that way. So I think when you first start, you don't know what the end goal is going to be.
Right.
But you have to start at
Right.
some point. So start in IT, audit, like we go back. AI is going to be your first thing. Learn it If that's a way in college, etc., learn as much as possible and be ready. I also think on the cybersecurity side is going to be big.
Yeah.
If you're looking for a place to start, that's another place. I've talked to other universities and colleges. They are building programs just around cybersecurity
Right.
because they know that's going to have to be around going forward. So I think that's a strong suit, but immerse yourself as much as possible in the new technologies, but understand that that journey that you have is going to make another turn at some point. You might decide to just still be an IC, or you might want to go into leadership. And leadership is a beautiful thing. I will definitely say that. I remember when I got my first management job, I was still mentally an IC. They don't give you a book and say, hey, this is
The
how.
manual to be a
Yeah, this is a
leader.
manual to be a leader. So I had to learn it and understand it over time. But then there was just this point where I said, hey, I need to do something that maybe most people don't do. And I had to understand the power of letting go. And when I understood that, that's when I transitioned into a great leader. The power of letting go and say, hey, I need to empower this team and let them grow, and not me trying to say, hey, I'm going to do the work with you. If I do all this work, you're going to know that I'm a good leader. That's not the case, because you're not empowering them. You're taking the lead, but you're still not empowering. And it's really empowering that team to become great leaders themselves.
Right. I've heard you mention cyber a few times now. Tell me a little bit more about your involvement. I completely agree with you, by the way, because I feel like AI is coming up really fast. Systems are being implemented fast. Boardrooms are asking for AI projects and implementation and how they add value. But then there's these periphery functions that keep us safe, the guardrails, right? And the guardrails are probably not quite up to speed, and even and if they are, there's not as much awareness. So there's in the beginning, everybody just shut AI out. Remember, there was a time where you would just not allow it because you just didn't know what to do with it from a security standpoint. Business case, well made. So I feel, and now I'm also in a totally non-tech field, I'm coming across people that are now AI attorneys, like you have patent attorneys.
Okay.
I recently had a LinkedIn reach out with a gentleman who's an AI attorney. And so I feel like that is going to be another very lucrative field because there's going to be contracts that would need to be written and IP that needs to be owned, right? And SLAs that need to be established. And you're already talking about, now finally, after how many years of AI, I'm hearing people talk about tokenization costs. Nobody said that about AI for the first few years. What are you seeing from a cyber, those guardrail standpoints in the world of AI?
Well, I think from a cyber standpoint, InfoSec or your cybersecurity needs to be involved in that first conversation. When we talk about what problem are we trying to solve, they need to be sitting in the room when that happens. And the reason that is to understand, hey, how is my data going to be used when I bring in these tools? Is one of the most important things. Is my data just going to go out into the public? We've seen it before when AI first came in. People were using it, didn't understand that a lot of the data they were ingesting and it was going out to the public. So it's really understanding that and putting those guardrails, like you say. Not everybody loves cybersecurity because, hey, they have policies and procedures that the business must uphold to. So they're the ones who are trying to keep everybody in line. But if you understand that is AI for good, that is putting the right guardrails to make sure your data is safe. So what I'm seeing is that CISO or that team is at the same table having those same conversations. You want to bring in this new tool, this new AI, how are we going to keep that data protected?
Right.
Let's have those conversations with a vendor and have those conversations and understand, hey, what are their policies? What are their procedures? What are their data leakage guardrails as well? So I think those conversations are had at the same time with everybody else to understand, okay,
Right.
if we bring this in, this is what we need to know ahead of time. Your cybersecurity team is on the same roadmap with you as well. They have to, if you think about cybersecurity, are the protectors of the business in a sense. They're trying to make sure that everything that we do is make sure that it's covered, it's protected, etc.
And the people are protected and the company's protected.
Yes. So it's definitely so important. So what I'm seeing most of the time and what I'm seeing now is that cybersecurity is in the forefront as well when we ask that same question of what are we trying to solve? Cybersecurity, your CISO, etc., at the same table, having that conversation to protect the business.
Very true. So you are a leader that has actually had more exposure to AI and longer than some of our other colleagues have had. So if you were a technology leader at a small to mid-sized company, and you're either enthusiast and you're like, oh my goodness, what else can we sign up for from an AI standpoint? Or you're like a reluctant adopter and you're like, I don't know, this is like not the way I coded for 25 years. How do I deal with this now? But you've reached to the table now. You're at the table. Building on what you've said previously, you've got the right stakeholder. You want business there. You want your GRC people there. You want your cyber people there, right? Now you know what problem you're trying to solve. You have the right stakeholders at the table. What is next in that AI solution journey?
No, we talk about it. It's really okay. Let's do our POC next. Let's understand if this still makes sense.
Right.
We've seen it. It looks good, etc. Now it's really to do some real world testing to see if this makes sense. So, like you say, your small business, and going back to what you were saying about small business, there are a lot of people who are still scared of AI
Yes.
and not sure if they want to bring that into their business. It's really making those stakeholders comfortable
Right.
as well to say, hey, this is why we need to bring this in, and really speaking to that team and having them understand why this makes sense to bring it in order for our productivity, if it's faster coding, etc. Understanding that, but understanding that we still need the people as well. So going back to your question, it's really now it's time to test it, understand it. Does this make sense before we bring this into production as well? So we got to go through those steps. I
Right.
always say we got to test it. We got to do a POC. We got to get other stakeholders engaged in it to say, hey, this is something we really want to bring in. It does make sense. If not, so that'll be your next step after having all those conversations,
Mhm.
talking to the vendor, etc. Is now we need to actually bring it temporarily, if it must say, into the business and see if this makes sense. What are other people saying who are part of those initiatives, etc., to go forward if we're going to move forward or not? And I've been lucky enough. I've worked for companies who want to be at the forefront,
Right.
move faster, understand it. So it gives me a chance to actually see how that works in a real world scenario, not just something I do on a personal side as well. So I've
Right.
been lucky enough to see the engagement and why people need these certain tools.
Absolutely. If you're a large company, you can throw a lot of money at it. You hire right out the gate, a CAIO now, right? You give them a whole team of slew of engineers, people, and you're like, I want to build my own LLMs and I want to do my own algorithms. You're a small company, you're trying to figure out the landscape and you don't have the budgets to have a huge AI team at your disposal. So you, in a sense, will go out and find a partner that can come and help you sort of navigate.
Hmm.
What are the considerations? Because there's so many people that are touting AI benefits out there today, and pretty much everybody is saying that they're doing AI. Every consulting firm,
Hmm.
every business
Hmm.
partner, every vendor out there is AI enabled. How do you sort through that as a small to medium business to determine who is the right fit for you from a partnership standpoint?
Yeah, I love the word you say, partnership, because that's what I see any vendor that we bring in, etc. At any company, it's a partnership. We both need to be successful on both
Right.
sides. So I think it's understanding that partnership, understanding the business that you're going to help bring in, that vendor, etc. Having those conversations and really understanding, like you say, everyone says everyone's AI enabled. We do X, Y, and Z with AI, but hey, I need to see some of that feedback from the people that you worked with as well. Who
Right.
are these other businesses that you talk about? Can we have those conversations as well and just say, hey, what were your initiatives? How did these projects go? And
Look at
get some,
track record.
yes, get some honest feedback.
Right.
And I think that brings that to the table. But it's also, I always say, it's about those other people or members of the team that know these under vendors, have worked with them at several other companies, other
Right.
initiatives as well, that gives them credibility to come in and say, okay, I can use said partner and we can have this partnership, a long-term partnership,
Right.
hopefully,
Right.
and be able to bring that in going forward when it comes to AI.
Yeah. That's a great way to look at it, is to say, okay, what is your track record? What have you done? Can we talk to your other customers? And one of the biggest criteria that I used to have, because I've been on both sides of the equation, I've been a buyer and now I'm on the consulting side myself. I used to always say, it's very important for me to know who's going to pick up my phone call at midnight.
Oh, yes.
and feel my pain.
Yes.
Whose priorities are aligned with mine is very important. The second thing was, what does your delivery team look like?
Mm-hmm.
I didn't just talk to the salespeople.
Mm-hmm.
I had them bring their delivery team to the table
Mm-hmm.
because those folks are not going to pull a wool over your eyes about what they
Yes.
can and can't do, right?
Yes.
And that's where the processes is where the
Mhm.
rubber meets the road. What has your experience been like in navigating successful implementations with multitude of stakeholders involved, external and internal?
Actually, they've been well. They've been well. I've been lucky. I will say that. I've been lucky.
You say that. How much
Yeah.
of it is luck and how much of it is the intention?
I would say both, but I always say, hey, you bring somebody in, you just don't know until the work gets started.
Right.
So I look at it that way. So I always say, hey, I'm lucky enough. Things have been very successful. They have great teams. You talk to the engineering teams of those vendors. They understand, hey, what this project is, where our deadlines are, etc. So you're both aligned. So that's why I say I've always been lucky enough. I would say knock on wood that things have gone. But it's really trying to make sure that the stakeholders understand the project, understand the timelines, understand if we miss a timeline, why is that as well? So it's really having the stakeholders and have that trust.
Right.
The trust is always say, but I also look at it, even if we bring in another partner, I'm always about trust but verify. I trust that you're going to do the work, but I need to verify it myself. So when I sit in that room with the other stakeholders, hey, I'm confident enough that this project is going to go well, and this
Right.
initiative is going to go well.
Right. And that's speaking like a seasoned leader, right? You know where that line is. Let's talk a little bit about how you are giving back to the community, because when I chatted with you briefly earlier, you're doing so much, and I'm so in awe of how much of a giver you are back into the community. So tell us about some of those initiatives.
Yeah, so I'm actually on the Make-A-Wish Council here in North Texas. Been almost about a year almost going on. Got part of that because I wanted to give back. I wanted to find a way to give back. So one of my great friends is on the Make-A-Wish board in Ohio. Had a conversation with just a general conversation. I said, I really want to start giving back. And he was like, hey, I thought about giving a call to Make-A-Wish so you can be on the council. So once I did that, one of their first questions was, how can we help? I said, how can I help y'all? And that means if I have to open the Rolodex to everybody, etc., in order to just give one kid their special wish is so important. I think if you're a person who's a professional at any point, giving back is one of those big things. You've earned the right to be an executive, a leader, etc. It's that part of giving back and being unselfish,
Right.
and just giving back to somebody who really needs it. And for me, it's been impactful. My wife loves what Make-A-Wish does when she heard about that as well. So, we have Wish Night coming up in another week. I'm looking forward to that, just to seeing so many and hearing so many kids'
Oh, I can't even
stories.
imagine.
I know I'm probably going to be shedding a couple of
I
tears.
was gonna say a box of tissues for that one.
A
Yeah.
couple of tears, but it's impactful.
Right.
It's part of the legacy that I want to leave, and that's giving back. And being part of Make-A-Wish is a blessing, and it's an honor to be part of the Carter Council. And just like I always tell them, anytime you need anything, who you need to talk to, I am all open to make that happen. So really, I've found some of my superpowers is getting right people in a room, or partnerships, as we talked
Right.
about. So it's been very impactful and very blessed and grateful to be part of council.
Wonderful. What about some of your other initiatives, like you're a co-founder as well for the Leadership Lounge? What does that look like?
So for the Lone Star Leadership Lounge, our objective was to merge three different people who have podcasts. We have Time Out with Leaders, we have Fern and Friends, and we have my podcast, Black Belts and Boardrooms. And we just wanted to give a space for executive leaders to just come and just have a time where they can build relationships with other people. No one's selling anything. No one's doing that. It's just people building relationships,
Right.
and people gaining contacts with the other and building real relationships. I started to understand the power of connection a long time ago,
Right.
and know that it's more than just someone being your colleague. It's really understanding somebody, moving the titles out of the way, and say, hey, I just want to get to know you.
Right.
I just want to know your journey, your story. And that's what the Lone Star Leadership Lounge has become, a place where leaders can come for a couple of hours, have some food, maybe, just congregate with some other people and just build some true relationships. And we've seen it expand. We started that last year that we started, and we built this, and now it's expanding even more. We're gonna have some big Lone Star Leadership Nows events when it comes to the Dallas Museum coming up soon.
How
So
fun.
yeah, so we're definitely looking forward to that. And again, I always say humbled and grateful. I'm grateful for the partners I have in Lone Star Leadership Lounge. They're just not colleagues, they're friends.
Right.
And I get to build something with a group of friends and just see other people happy to be around that, because I've heard from other executives, they were saying, hey, we don't have a event like this
Or
where,
sounding board.
yeah, just
Yeah.
where, hey, we can just come and just have a conversation.
Right.
And we wind up building it, and it's just been very impactful. So we're looking forward to our next 3 events that are coming up, and just make sure that I invite you, and you're going to
Oh,
be
thank
there as
you.
well.
I'm
So
very
we would
honored.
love to
Thank
have
you. I
you,
would love to be there.
and just have a good time at the end of the day.
Sounds like a great
Yes.
time. So, giving back and leading an illustrious technology career, family man, um, we all have so much going on, and I'm sure it's not done without a very strong, driven personality, right? So, what is your downtime routine like? What do you do to recalibrate personally?
For me, it's jujitsu. I say it a lot. A lot of people know that I'm a black belt in jujitsu. Been training for 16
That's your
years.
downtime?
That's my
Doing
downtime. That's my downtime.
Okay.
Training jujitsu, getting a chance to teach and train myself. That's my downtime. That's another form of my peace.
Yeah.
When a lot of people who train martial arts, when you step on the mat, everything gets quiet for a couple of hours.
So true.
So it's a
You
chance for
focus.
me to just reset and then come back anew for the most part. So outside of just being with the family, jujitsu is a big part of my life. I love what I do. A lot of the leadership that I do now comes from jujitsu. I've learned so much from jujitsu. I have so many great friends from that aspect. So it was something I didn't know was gonna actually become very strong and part of my life, which it is. It goes the same way when I take trips or business trips. I have a gi in my suitcase just
Oh,
in
wow.
case
Yeah.
I can have some downtime. I'll go to the gym and go train after that. So yeah, it became a big part of my life, and I love doing that.
Talk about doing some activity and being physically active and healthy while you also have downtime. So no Netflix binge watching.
Oh, every so often, of course. Every so you gotta watch Netflix every so often. So yeah, I say with my wife, we're big movie people. We love movies. We love watching some good series, etc. So outside of the family life, it's definitely jujitsu
Yeah.
is a big part of my life.
No, absolutely. Cinemark is one of our clients, coincidentally. So we're big movie people at Zeal as well. I would not want to wrap up this podcast. I know, thank you. I know we kind of extended over on the time, but your little tagline on LinkedIn really resonated with me, even as a woman. Be a lion in a room full of lions. What does that stand for you, as my last question to you? And how do you recommend that level of confidence? Because that's not something you say, pick me, right? That's something that people acknowledge, people around you acknowledge in you, like being on the 2025 and 2026 Men to Watch list for Black leaders worldwide, right? That's being a lion in a room full of lions to me. What does it mean to you?
For me, I looked at it, being a lion in a room full of lions was with other senior leaders, other executives. You have to understand that room. You have to be confident in that room, no matter who you are,
Right.
and not be a person who's in the corner, etc. Because you got to remember that when you step in that room, what you have, your knowledge, etc., is as important as everyone else's. I remember when I was moving in my career, I looked at executives as these people on the top of the a pyramid, etc.
Yeah.
But then you get in those rooms and you're like, hey, my part of that room is very important as well. People need to feel that off you, feel that you're approachable, etc. So that's part of being that lion, is just having that confidence, that gravitas,
Right.
being in the room and understanding that, hey, to another executive, you both have problems as well outside. You both put on your shoes at the same time,
Mhm.
etc. So, it's very important. I teach that to a lot of people when I do executive coaching, that you have to be in line in those rooms. But I also tell other people that, when it comes to maybe a seasoned female executive, that you're a lioness. And that you have to remember that the
Right.
lioness is the one who hunts, not
Right.
the lion. The lioness is the one who hunts. And
Right.
just make sure that you have that confidence in that room. If it's doing presentations, if it's standing, having a big event with other people, just know that you belong in that room, and that what you know and what you have done in your career matters as much as anyone else in that room. So it's something I carry with me on a regular basis, making sure that I show up to those rooms, and that I make sure that, hey, I'm making an impact in those rooms as well.
Yeah. Absolutely. So much to think about. My wheels are going to be turning through the weekend here, just thinking about our conversation. And the theme that I walk away from is stand in your own power, in your own confidence. Don't shy away from the hard decisions, the hard work, embracing new technology. And while you're doing that, open the door and let other leaders in, and groom and uplift other leadership right behind you as well. So, Renard, very inspired. Thank you again so much for taking the time.
Thank you for having me.
Absolutely.